Jason.
Hey, Katie. How's it going?
I'm Katie Leonardini, and this is Jason Moulton. He's our Director of Winemaking and Viticulture. Today we're sitting up here in our newly renovated club room. We got a little break in the rain, actually. We've had some tremendous rain over the last week. Yesterday was insane. But today the sun came out, so it's drying up a little bit. So hopefully you can see behind us the clear skies before we get more rain tomorrow. Right. We thought this would be a good idea to share our club release wines with you because so many of our club members aren't able to come out here very often.
Right.
And so we thought it'd be fun and nice opportunity to go through the wines together. So what do you think?
Yeah, so we got a number of wines for you guys to taste, specifically what you've just received. And we're going to run through 6 wines of the current releases. We're going to start out with a 2023 Rosé, move on to our 22 Pinot Noir Swan, then go to our 23 Tre Leoni Red Blend, and then we'll move on to the 18 Napa Cabernet.
Yep.
Segue into the 22 Petit Verdot, and then finish with the 21 Millennium Vineyard Cabernet. Yep.
And Rebecca, our wine club manager, paired all of our releases with a nice selection of wines. She should have emailed those to you. In fact, I know she did. So hopefully you've gotten organized and have some of those cheeses in front of you as well if you want to do the pairing with us.
Yep.
So let's get started with the Rosé.
Right.
And would you call a Rosé a white wine or a red wine, Jason?
Geez, I kind of teeter back and forth.
Yeah.
My wife and I go back and forth on on white wine versus rosé when we're cooking or at home, and it's kind of neither here nor there for us. They kind of are perfect pairings either way. But for the 2023 Pinot Noir Rosé, this is from our Sonoma Stage Vineyard. At Sonoma Stage Vineyard, we acquired back in 2019, and from it we do make our Rosé, Pinot Noirs, Chardonnay, and a Blanc de Noir sparkling. And so we do make quite a few wines from this vineyard, specifically getting into the Rosé. This is 75% stainless steel tank fermented, 25% barrel fermented. Within that, there's a 5% new French oak inclusion within the barrel fermented and the barrel fermented piece. It's a native barrel fermentation. So just giving it some extra texture and love to move along with those aromatics from the stainless steel tank fermentation. So what do you think?
The texture pairs really well with not a double cream but a triple cream brie. It definitely stands up to that creaminess.
Right. Yeah, and
so try it.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
What do you think?
Love it. Love it.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's kind of to each his own how you want to pair this with cheese, but we found that this cheese paired perfectly with the one as we tested them.
Nice. And I like the Rosé not just as a summer wine. I mean, when I started drinking Rosé, and Rosé was not as serious of a varietal or blend that, or not a blend, but not as serious of a wine,
right?
15, 20 years ago, but it is now.
Right.
And so I have found over time that I enjoy it throughout the year.
Agreed.
Not just summertime, but enjoying it more wintertime. Yeah. With fish, with shrimp, with light pastas. It's really nice.
Okay. We're going to do the next wine. We're moving on to the 22 Swan Clone Pinot Noir. And with the Swan Clone, we're specifically targeting the top clone performing fermentation within the vintage. So we've got Calera, we've got 115, we've got 667 in terms of clones. We even have Pommard clone. And so with that, this was a top performing, most unique clone of the vintage. And so we did the single bottling on it. So this is 35% new French oak, unfined, unfiltered. And I'd like to, this is my, comment within the red wines in general for Whitehall Lane. All the wines are unfined and unfiltered for the reds. The whites, yes, we filter them. Want to make them nice and clean for you. And so with that,
and another beautiful wine that we've created from the Sonoma Stage Vineyard.
Right. And it's 14 months in barrel. I do want to state that because all the reds, they have some varying degree of age. And so for Pinot Noir, anything we're doing in a Pinot Noir program here, they're 14 months in barrel. Yep.
Great.
Next wine.
We're trying to move these along since we have a lot of wines to go through. So we'll move on to our Tre Leoni.
2023 vintage Tre Leoni. It's been hailed the vintage of the century right now. We're really happy with everything we've gotten in. And with this, the Tre Leoni, if you're unfamiliar with the blend, it's a Napa Valley Red Blend, Cabernet Sauvignon dominant, Merlot coming in second, and Malbec finishing it off. Now this is for 20 months in barrel, typically about 25% new French oak. And with that, we're having some complexity with it, but we really want to have more fruit showing in the wine, and so we don't put as much oak in this product. And specifically, we'd like to talk about the family history. Tre Leoni, can you tell us where Tre Leoni comes from?
Yeah, it's funny. We go back and forth within the family as to why we say Tre Leoni. Leonardini, my last name, my family's last name, is Italian, means little lion, Leonardini. Tre Leoni, translated, means 3 lions. 3 generations would be the best definition now. My father, Tom Sr., is 83 years old, still very active in the winery, still such an asset to us with all of his experience. And next generation is my brother, Tom, who is not with us today, unfortunately. We wanted him to be here.
Tom.
Tom's been at the winery for, I think, 29 years of the 32 years that my family has owned the winery.
Wow.
Tom's my older brother, so Tom and myself are the next generation. And then third generation, Tom the third, who works under Jason, is our cellar master. And then my son, William, who does not work here, he works for Jason in between internship harvest gigs.
Yeah, doing his round of harvest internships and building up his experience. It's great.
Yeah, so when he has 2 or 3 months in between gigs, Jason takes him under his wing.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's kind of his home base as he travels, and that's actually what you did for years.
True. That's true.
I mean, you've gone to so many countries. He's kind of following some of the same countries to earn experience in harvest, as you have.
I'm glad he's doing it. He needs to do it.
Yep. So Tre Leoni's 3 generations. So of Leonardini's.
And with this, we have the Gouda we are pairing. That's the recommended cheese for that. And we got to try that. I think we got to move on to the next wine.
Rebecca, why the Gouda?
Because it's very good.
Okay, well, that's great. Okay, so we're trying to keep this on track so you don't have to cut us off, or you'll turn it off before we're done. So let's go on to the next one.
So
To keep it quick, 2018 Napa Valley Cabernet, which is our flagship Cabernet.
So this has some age on it. Still tasting pretty young, but in terms of the wines that we have available for you now, you've got some age, so some nice diversity within the current release selection. This is 40% new French oak, 98% Cabernet, 2% Petit Verdot. And this is aged for 20 months, unfined, unfiltered. And 2018 was a great year. Kind of a cool growing season, heated up right at the end. So a really nice long growing season for Napa Valley, just in terms of memory. It was a really fun vintage. We had a lot of great interns from all over the world here for that vintage. So very memorable. 2018. Yeah.
Do you take a sip?
Yeah.
I haven't had it in a couple of years.
Yeah, it has been a while. But it's holding up really nicely. I think you guys will enjoy it. If you think it's still a little young, highly recommend the decant.
Nice.
Decant is the way to go with any wine that you have a questionable moment of, geez, should I have opened this? Go ahead and drop it in a decanter, give it some time, and it should be just right.
Well, it's not, so we released this in mid 2020, but we put aside a handful of cases for our wine club members because we do like to age some of them for our club members. This was sold out shortly after, so it's nice to open this up now.
And this was the goat cheese.
Later, or 6.5 years later.
And the goat cheese was the pairing. That's the recommended pairing we've been given here. Thank you, Rebecca. And moving on in terms of time, we've got the 2022 Petit Verdot. So this is a Fawn Park Vineyard. So Fawn Park Vineyard, it's just kind of northeast St. Helena, right at the base of Glass Mountain. And so within that, they call it Glass Mountain because it gets a lot of volcanic washdown. So Napa Valley has a lot of volcanic activity in it previously. And so this is the one vineyard we have in our portfolio of vineyards where there is actual volcanic dragon glass out there amongst the gravel and the clay. And so there is this great diversity and structure that I see built within the wines that I really enjoy. Everything we are growing at Fawn Park, we do Petit Verdot and Cabernet, but specifically we go for this Petit Verdot every year. Maybe not every year, but more and more we're valuing this vineyard and what it does for you in the wine club. So,
Personal favorite of mine because I love this vineyard. We have 6 vineyards in Napa Valley and 2 in Sonoma. Fawn Park Vineyard is one of my favorite vineyards. If you follow our social media or if you have traveled out to any of our events, that is where our historic barn is. Beautiful property with an old, beautiful home with a wraparound porch from 1865, they estimate it was built. It's so picturesque. It's a beautiful vineyard. And so for personal reasons, I just love our Petit Verdot and where it comes from and the setting and what you do with the wine.
Thank you.
And we don't make Petit Verdot every year.
And the Manchego is supposed to be paired with Petit Verdot, so gotta try it.
I didn't try the wine yet, but I'll try the Manchego.
Oh, I didn't say it. 45% new French oak. I don't think that Petit Verdot needs to be hammered with oak. I think it should be fruit forward and show the place. And so specifically, this is balanced out to reflect that. 20 months in barrel, 45% new French oak, 100% Petit Verdot.
And another very small production wine that's released into the club first and then allowed for club members to reorder before it's out. So.
True.
It's beautiful.
Next wine we're going to move into is the 2021 Millennium Vineyard, or Millennium MM Vineyard, and 100% Cabernet, just down the road from us here in Rutherford. And if you know anything about the Millennium Vineyard, it's meant to be big, bold, and give you the sense of this is what Cabernet is. And specifically, this has 75% new French oak. It's aged 26 months in barrel, unfined, unfiltered, and very expressive of our growing region since we're in Rutherford here.
And we're upstairs in our club room, and diagonally, you can see it out the window, which is pretty neat. Just short distance away. In Rutherford on the valley floor.
Soil profile. This is going to be a gravelly clay loam. So the density and tannins, when I'm comparing this to a Bordeaux, like a Grand Cru Class A Bordeaux, I think of Saint Estèphe. And if you know Saint Estèphe, it's got heavy clays. And for me, that's what Millennium is, does great in drought years because that clay acts as a sponge and allows those vines to thrive and survive in a tough California drought. But yeah, the cheese to match with this is the cheddar. I'm going for it.
Good. Why the name Millennium Vineyard? My parents purchased this vineyard in the year 2000, so it goes with the name, right? It's a beautiful vineyard as well. 15 acres?
Roughly 15 acres, and upon purchase, that was a replant. That was a full replant, and so the vines are roughly, I think the replant happened in 2002, 2003. So yeah, the vines are roughly 22 years old. They're getting up there into old vine status. Once you get to 25 years, you're typically an old vine.
They're really starting to show their characteristics.
Correct.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah, and specifically, we have 6 blocks at Millennium, and they have varying degrees of clones within them, of Cabernet clones, and so kind of finding out the perfect clonal combination for creating this wine, it's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it. I feel honored to do it every year, and it's one of my favorite wines that we make, specifically from the breadth of the Cabernet that you can hone in on from this vineyard.
And what I love about this is being the vintage that it is, as you said, a big Cabernet, but super approachable now. But I love when we pull out bottles of Millennium. We tried a 2014 recently, which was gorgeous. I like our cabs to be 10 to 12 years of age.
Yep.
That's my optimal, but it depends on the drinker. What do you think for Millennium? What would be your ideal if you were to age it?
I think 10 to 12 is great. I do believe this vineyard could push even further. I think the 21 vintage in particular can age very long. The 23 I know can age very long. The 2020 all have really great tannin potential and can age 15, 20, 25 years, no problem. But yeah, it is how patient can you be for these wines? And that is, I think that's one of the hardest part when you're collecting all these wines, when to decide to drink them. Highly recommend getting a Corvin if you don't have one of those, so you can test them time after time.
My recommendation is always to buy 2 bottles of a wine.
There you go.
Try it now. If you love it, great. But then put one away and see how it is in a few years. It's always a recommendation. And do it because with these small production wines, 300 cases, if you come back in 2 or 3 years, we don't have them. So.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So
cool.
I think
we've gone through all the wines.
Yeah, and I think we might have some questions from Wine Club members. And
so Rebecca put out an email, and Katie, who handles our social media, put that out to say if anyone has questions before we do this, please throw them out there. So we do have a handful out there that we wanted to answer. So Courtney's asking about what the growing season was like for the reds. So for the reds that we're drinking here, you're looking at 21, 22, and 23. So let's say of the 3, what was your favorite? And it doesn't have to be the easiest, obviously. What was your favorite vintage?
I'm torn.
21, 22, and 23 for red wines.
For red wines, I think 23 I'm partial to, but second to that is 21.
And what's that?
Specifically tannin potential, growing season, and just the feasibility of the harvest. You know, there are things that, running an operation like this and all the logistics, the picking, the fermenting, the pressing, going down to barrel, like it's all very complex.
Like everything fell into place.
It's tedious.
Very smoothly.
And, I do think, 2021 and 2023 were just fabulous in terms of, seamlessness, but also having a really great vintage. It's offering you like a true, picturesque example of a Napa Valley wine. Yeah.
And thank you, Courtney, because I know Courtney's been enjoying our wines for at least 21 years. So thank you. Jerry's also been a long time club member and fan of Whitehall Lane. So that's cool that Jerry reached out.
Thanks, Jerry. What do we got?
Yeah, with Rosé. Like I was mentioning earlier, Rosé I do enjoy in the wintertime now, or it used to be just summer. For me, I think of like a creamy fettuccine pasta with shrimp. I mean, it's ideal, don't you think?
That's perfect. If you're going the pasta route.
It stands up to the creaminess of the fettuccine.
Right.
And the sauce, and then the shrimp, which is a fish. It has everything that would stand up to rosé?
Honestly, I feel like rosé.
Now I have to go back to rosé.
Rosé can.
Fettuccine.
I feel like rosé can go anywhere with anything.
What would you do with it?
I've even gone to a steakhouse and had rosé before.
Really?
And it's shocking. You're like, okay, does that make any sense? But it's what you want in that moment. It can pair well, how you handle it, and how you like your steak done. And
the cut of the steak.
Yeah, and for the most part, though, we'll do summer salads with citrus or nectarines, pears, peaches, walnuts, goat cheese. Goat cheese.
Right.
It's perfect.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of where I fall in that camp. Love the fettuccine with shrimp. That's a great one. And yeah, I think rosé is becoming more and more versatile as a wine style. And specifically, I didn't mention it because we have a lot of detailed stuff about the wines. But this is a whole cluster press rosé, not a Senier rosé. And so we mean business when we make rosé here. This isn't a byproduct of a red fermentation. This is a legitimate Provençal style rosé that we're just putting our heart and soul into.
And we make rosé every year.
Every year.
It's not an afterthought, as you were alluding to. It's a serious wine that we make every year.
Yep.
So I enjoy it.
Yep.
So John Edwards is asking us to talk more about the New Era wines. We don't have one in our release.
Right.
This winter, we put them occasionally in our elite.
Right.
But tell us about that program.
So,
2014 was the first vintage? Is that before your time?
Well, technically, yes. So when I came on board...
Definitely had a part in it. Jason became our winemaker in 2016.
Right.
Spring of 2016. So
right.
16 was your first vintage from start to finish, but you
Correct.
blended 2014s and 2015s.
Exactly.
In bottles.
Yeah, so essentially the program was created because, we make some really great wines here, from single vineyards. And so looking into it, and the estate's a great example of this. When we make the Leonardini Estate Cabernet, we're taking the best of all these little vineyard sites and putting it together. And so when we're making that wine, just for example with the Leonardini Estate, that's a lot of barrel selection, vineyard selection, clonal selection. When you're looking at the 1 of 5 or the 5 of 5, the New Era wines, it's even a higher level of critiquing of strategy and blending, going down to the tiniest percent of a new French oak barrel. And so, I would say that there could be 25 components within a 120 case lot. That it took us a week to blend. But even getting there in that 1 week of a blending session to try and create this 1 of 5, which is 100% Cabernet, or a 5 of 5, for example, all 5 Bordeaux varieties, is incredibly difficult, and laying the groundwork for that requires a lot of analysis combined with sensory tasting experience. And so, we go through a number of different renditions, and it's quite difficult because, let's say we purchase 400 new French oak barrels a year, for example. We have to taste every single one of those barrels. And within that, we're trying to tease out the top lot, whether that's the Millennium Vineyard, the Fawn Park Vineyard, or Oak Glen, or the estate here. We're trying to find out where our top pieces can come from and then blend them together to create a singular lot that has something more high level and texture driven and is more of an experience than what I can get you with our other single vineyard wines.
And when we started this program, it was an opportunity for you to be creative. We started with 1 barrel. So,
this is true.
Which is 25 cases of wine.
This is true.
Just to take the time and experiment, to play around with all of the tools in your toolbox, basically,
right,
and create the best wine you could.
That's
that's why with New Era, we left it open to, it could be 1 of 5, it could be 100% Cabernet, or 100% Petit Verdot. But it was to give you the opportunity to create the best wine that you could. And so we've since expanded it to 2 barrels.
Yep.
And then we left it open to some years we may not do it.
Yeah.
But we have. So
That's right.
It's been a great growing opportunity for you and for Whitehall Lane. And now it's been over 10 years we've been doing this. So
This is true. We're going on 10 years here.
Yeah. And it's very select, a very small production wine.
Yeah.
So it's fun. You should be proud of it.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic wine to make. Happy to make it, and like I said, the tediousness.
It's so limited. We don't put it in the wine club because it's so small production.
That's right.
25 to 50 cases. So if you know, you know.
That's right. Rebecca, do we have another?
Let's see. Last one is from, it says the Wine Club Warrior. I'm not sure who that is. Rebecca will have to tell me who the Wine Club Warrior is. Oh, I think that's Rebecca's name. Swan named her that. Okay. What is she just threw this in at the end. Rebecca, the best Wine Club manager ever. What is your favorite memory made while enjoying a glass of Whitehall Lane wine? She threw this in at the end, so I was not prepared for this. What is your favorite memory with a glass of Whitehall Lane?
Oh wow, this one's easy for me. Well, so I have two. There's kind of a. Can I tell both?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so.
Let's see. Oh, we have time.
About a month before I interviewed here and got the position, I tasted a 1984 Whitehall Lane at a friend's house. And it was one of the most fantastic wines in the lineup. We had all these old vintage wines.
Where were you? I know you're at a friend's house, but in Napa Valley?
Young Inglewood winery just down the road on Inglewood Avenue. And it was our tasting group. And he had this wine. It was pulled from the Spotswood cellar, I am told. And within that was this Thai iced tea, milk chocolate characteristic that I hadn't experienced with any Napa Valley wine, not one. And so, yeah, if anybody's familiar with Thai iced tea, it's a little complex and interesting, but for a wine from 1984 in the year 2016, it was pretty extraordinary. And it really sat with me. And so my second memory that I would relate to this was walking around during my interview with your father, and he poured a 2012 Leonardini estate, and I just died. And I fell in love with the wine, and it was unforgettable. But he poured me this glass. It was this tall, and it was like, is this a test?
Is this a test to see how you drink that?
If I drink all this glass, am I in trouble? And if I don't, am I in trouble? And so I really respected and appreciated what I saw there. And that was from the previous winemaker, Dean Sylvester, which I looked to him in terms of a history. Yeah. And he took care of this place for, I think, 17 years, thereabouts. And that was his wine, and I saw the fruit, I saw the potential, and that is probably the wine that sits with me the most.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'll answer it. So as you're talking, I'm thinking of these. I've been drinking Whitehall Lane for 32 plus years, so I have a lot of memories. But I'm going to go with a recent one because it involves you, and it's like this circle that's coming back to us because it's so relevant right now with Napa Valley Vintners Premier Auction coming up. So it relates to one of our auction items. And it's more solely Vineyard Cabernet. Right. So Jason and I were coming up with ideas on the auction lot that we're going to create. And what do we do to be different and unique to stand out and tell our story? And we reached out to Chris Morsoli, who he and his family own for several generations, a beautiful famous vineyard in Rutherford, Appalachian. Years ago, 30 plus years ago, Whitehall Lane would buy fruit from Morsoli Vineyard. And Whitehall Lane was the first winery to label a wine Morsoli Vineyard.
It's true.
Yeah, and that was
it's a true story.
Late 80s.
Yeah.
So Jason, my brother Tom, and I decided to reach out to Chris Morsoli and talk about putting a wine together. So Chris Morsoli came over and brought, I don't remember what vintage, was it like a 92 perhaps?
It was either 92 or 95
Whitehall
now.
Lane Morsoli Vineyard Cabernet, and brought it over to us, and we opened it up in Jason's office, and it just brought Whitehall Lane back in time, brought Morsoli Vineyard and Whitehall Lane back together again.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to share that together.
Yeah.
And we're blending a wine as we speak.
Yes.
That will showcase in 2 weeks at Napa Valley Vintners premiere auction.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty special.
that's my recent memory. Really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, can't wait to try it.
Awesome.
All right. So I think that was our last question. Thank you, Wine Club Warrior.
Yes.
Sentimental there. So for all of you that listen, thank you. We wish you could be here with us once or twice a year to visit. We thought this would be nice to hear Jason speak about the wines. We're excited about this release. And we invite you to come any time of the year. We've always got things going on at Whitehall Lane. Doesn't matter what month it is. January is February is a nice time to come because it's quieter. We can provide you with more one-on-one attention up in our club room here. In the summer months, well, in California, it's, March through October to be outside,
Right.
and many weekends in between. But we built a new garden pavilion that we opened up and debuted spring of last year, May of last year, so we'd love to share that with you. So we invite you to come out here any time of the year. Reach out to Rebecca, and she will set something up for you. Any final words from you, Jason?
We got sheep coming in 3 weeks if people want to see sheep on the estate as part of our sustainability drive to reduce our herbicide footprint in the long term. We've got sheep coming in to do all the mowing in our vineyards. So in about 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have them here, and they'll probably be here for about 2 weeks.
I don't know. I find our owl boxes here more exciting. See the owls and what they do here.
They are pretty
We have
cool.
one right here on the corner. I love that. So yeah, there's lots to see here. We'd love to show you around. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Rebecca asked us to say one more thing. For wine club members, if you can do if you want to reorder, we encourage you to open up the wines and try them now. And Rebecca offers a 25% off for wine club members only if you reorder any of these wines before March 15th. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Yep.
We good?
That's it. All
Got
right.
it.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jason.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
You
Katie.
look nice in that jacket.
Thank you.